It's one thing to pray for more clients in your business and something else entirely to actually set your business up to receive the clients that you're desiring. I believe that God will send the rain when he's ready, but he won't send the rain if you haven't done your prep work. It's time that you prepare.
You're listening to the Leverage Your Incredible Factor podcast with Darnyelle, Jervey, Harmon. The place to be to leverage and scale a business that serves you financially and spiritually. I'm your host, spiritual business growth strategist, Darnyelle J. Harmon. Join me each week for inspiring stories, powerful interviews, and business growth strategy to help you experience abundance in your life because of your business. If you are ready to play and pray bigger, let's get this party started. If this is your first time joining me, there's just a few things I want to make sure that you know. Number one, I am not new to this. I am true to this. For more than 10 years, I have been growing businesses, period. I am the absolute best at combining spiritual principles with business growth strategy to turn entrepreneurs into multiple 6- and 7-figure CEOs. And no, in case you were wondering, you do not have to choose. You can love God and make boatloads of money. And I'm on a mission to create even more multiple 6- and 7-figure CEOs. Oh, and we don't do hustle and grind. We do spirituality and systems. You might be wondering exactly what the incredible factor is. And if that's you, I invite you to go all the way back to our very first episode. I even give you a really powerful worksheet that you can download so that you can find yours, because it is the key to beginning to leverage and scale your business. And I am tickled purple that you are listening in today.
This episode is powered by my brand new private trainings. We have Shatter Your Income Ceiling and Move to Millions. If you are in a business that you know is not bringing everything that you crave into reach, then I've got a private training for you. Learn more and apply today at partnerwithdarnyelle.com. Okay. So I stayed away from you guys for a little while with all of the amazing interviews that I've been sharing with you over the last few weeks. But now I just feel like I've got to chat with you. And so I'm so excited because today I want to share with you something that I do every single month, the first Sunday of every single month. It's almost like communion for those of you who are inside of the Christian faith. It's almost like communion for me. It is a perfect reminder of who God is to me, and how God shows up in my life. And so today I want to talk to you about preparing for rain. I'm going to start by telling you a little story. So 2013 was the first year when I decided, like literally made the firm, unequivocal decision that I was going to let the God in me show up fully in my business, right? And maybe you've come to that same crossroad where you are spiritual, but it's not in your business because you're afraid to offend people. At least that was my story. I was afraid that I would offend someone. And so I kind of kept God to myself until I realized that keeping God to myself was not allowing me to show up fully and authentically in the marketplace. And so I literally remember I was at my live event. At the time, it was called Unleash Your Incredible Factor Live. We were down in Reston, Virginia. And it was the third morning I woke up with this unction in my spirit to be down in the meeting room, praying in my prayer language and just sealing the atmosphere for what was about to come. I knew God was about to do something big. And I'm in the room and I'm praying, I'm getting it in. And the door throws open and this woman walks in. This woman had literally registered for the event the day before the event started. And she says, I've been trying to figure out why I'm here. God told me to register for this event. I don't have a business. This morning, he gave me a word for you. In the word, he said that if you would take a bold stand for him, he would make it easy. You probably have heard me share this story before because it's been in several episodes, right? And so anyway, I had been at that point in time just kind of in this crossroad experience, like, God, I want the you in me to show in everything that I do. and I just need you to show me a sign, right? You know how we do that, right? We bargain and negotiate with God. Just show us a sign. And so he did. He was quick. God does a quick work, right? When your heart is ready, when you're in alignment, he shows up, and he shows up quickly. And so he literally showed up quickly and confirmed what I knew in my spirit, that it was time for me to take a bold stand. And so the next year, 2014, this was the year we crossed the $1 million mark for the very first time. In 3 days, we did $1.3 million in sales in our business, which was crazy and phenomenal and amazing. It was a business revival. It was ridiculous what happened at my business conference. And that was when I decided that if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it, A, so that God gets the glory, and B, so that it is well with my soul, right? Doesn't that feel good to just say that? And so that began this journey of where we are today, where we literally in our work combine spiritual principles with business growth strategy. And that's what gives us the competitive edge over the other people who technically do what it is that we do. And so, years have been going by, and each year my relationship with God gets deeper, and my connection to him and the way I want to show up so that he gets the glory gets magnified. And so here we are at 2021. And I'm literally, while I'm recording this, I'm looking at my vision board. So one of the things, we are vision board people. And at the end of every year, I tighten up my vision board for the next year. My business typically runs on a 3-year strategic plan. My life kind of runs on a 10-year vision plan, if you will. Vision, because it's the things that God has shown me or has ruminated in my spirit, right? Less about the material things and more about who I want to be, right? That's the question I'm always asking myself. Who must I be in order to be able to really walk boldly and fully into who it is that God sees me as? And so every month, I watch Facing the Giants. I love this movie. I first got introduced to Facing the Giants when I was in Mary Kay Cosmetics. I remember we were at our January Jumpstart, and our national sales director, Pam Tall, in the Emerald Seminar, if you know anything about Mary Kay, puts this one clip of this movie on. And it's the clip where the team is on the field, and Brock, the main character, one of the main characters, is a little, lackluster about whether or not they can actually pull it off. And so then the coach has him do the death crawl with Jeremy on his back, and he blindfolds him. And so he's coaching him along the way. And at the end, he says, you have been gifted with the ability of leadership. You're very influential. If you act defeated, they will act defeated. And so that was the clip she showed us. And as we were sales directors at the time, we were all like, oh my gosh, we have to show this to our units. And so excited. I, of course, said the same thing, but more than that, I was like, oh, I need to watch this whole movie. And I watched the movie. And if you've ever had a moment where your whole body is goosebumps, like the whole movie, the whole time you're watching, like that is literally what happened to me the very first time I watched Facing the Giants. And what I loved about it, there were so many lessons, and that's what I'm going to share with you. This episode is called Prepare for Rain for a reason, and I'll tell you that story in a second. But there's a lot of lessons that come out of Facing the Giants for me that I just wanted to download into you. And I feel it's important now. It's 2021, right? We're still in the midst of a pandemic. Some of us have been seeing miracles and have been seeing the manifestation of God's promises in our lives in spite of the pandemic, right? And some of us are still inundated and overwhelmed by the pandemic. And I just want to submit to you today what I made the decision to do in my own business prior to 2020, but like firmly planted in 2021, is that I am preparing for rain. And so there's a scene in the movie where, I don't want to tell you the whole movie because I want you to watch it. And I still recommend you watch it, even if I tell you what I'm going to tell you. But the Shiloh Eagles, that's the name of the football team. They're like the Bad News Bears. If you remember that movie, they're the worst. They are doing terribly. The apathy is just heightened, and Coach Taylor isn't helping. He is contributing to that. until he starts to realize, as a result of the parents wanting to get rid of him, that maybe it's something in him that needs to change. And he starts to ask himself, who must I be so that I can lead these high school boys down a path where they can be who they need to be so that they can experience the fullness of God. And he like basically turns his whole MO around. And, but anyway, before he gets to that point, Mr. Bridges, who is a person in the community who prays over the lockers of the students, walks into his office one day. It happens to be just after he overheard the parents trying to get rid of him. And so he's feeling especially downtrodden. And Mr. Bridges walks into his office and starts reading out of Revelations. And he says, and it's the passage in Revelation where it says, God is a God who can open doors and close doors, and the gist of that. And then he says, Coach Taylor, you still have an open door here. God, until God moves you, you are to bloom where you are planted. And he goes, I just felt led to come and tell you that. And so he leaves. Coach Taylor runs behind him and he goes, Mr. Bridges, do you really believe God told you to come and tell me that message? And Mr. Bridges says, yes. And he says, Coach Taylor says, I submit to you that I've been praying, but I'm also struggling. I don't see God at work. And this is the part that changed my life. It's the reason that one of my themes for 2021 is prepare for rain. It's the reason I'm sharing this with you. Mr. Bridges says, Grant, I heard this story once of two farmers. Both of them needed rain. And both of them prayed for rain, but only one of them went out and prepared their fields for the rain. God will send the rain when he's ready. Which one are you? And so I submit to you today, in your business, the rain can be synonymous with more clients, more income, more team members, whatever it is you need more of. That's the rain. And you might even be praying for more clients or more team members or more revenue. You might even be praying for those things. But how many of you have actually started the process to prepare your fields for it? So I have recently stepped fully into the realization of who I am. Like, I think other people have seen my greatness far more than I've seen my own greatness. Now, I'm extremely confident. You already know that because you follow me and you listen to this podcast. I am confident. I know who I am and whose I am. But even with all of that, I think that there was a piece of me that was playing small because it was more comfortable, right? Playing big is out of your comfort zone, right? And I had about 5 people in 2019 tell me that I am understated. And it wasn't a compliment. It was basically like, you are so much more than you put on and that you put out into the world. Why? And so ever since then, I've kind of gone on this mission, if you will, to figure out why I do that. Why do I self-sabotage? And sure, you might be thinking, but Darnyelle, you run $1 million company. Like, how much self-sabotaging can you be doing? Well, if you're supposed to be having an 8-figure business and you have a 7-figure one, if your impact is supposed to reach millions and it's only reaching thousands, isn't that still playing small, right? It's all relative. But I recently have really started to look at the clues. I believe success leaves clues. And so I recently have started to look at the clues and have been like blown away at the realization that I am that girl. I am her. She is me. And so as a result of that, now this new understanding and full confidence as I'm deepening my connection and alignment to God, I'm like, you're playing way too small. You have got to play a bigger game. And part of that for me is about realizing that playing bigger means that I've got to prepare my fields for rain. I believe that God will not send the rain until my fields are ready. And so I submit to you that God will not send the rain until your fields are ready. So what are you doing to prepare for rain? Right? So for me, I believe I'm now fully cognizant and holding firmly to the belief that I have an 8-figure company. This brand, this business, this movement, this mantra, this mandate filled with all of these methodologies is to impact multiple millions of people and generate multiple millions of dollars. And not just so that I can have the things, but so that I can actually impact lives and be the change that I wish to see. I think I've shared with you, I did an episode on tithing. I'll link to it in the show notes. I did an episode on tithing, and, I stopped setting a revenue goal and started to just set a tithe goal. That's what I started to do in my business because I wanted it to be about giving, right? I believe that Zig Ziglar, if you help enough people get what they want, you will get what you want. And so I started to focus on giving and started thinking like, what do millionaires do? Right? Because it's one thing to have $1 million company. Like, we run a 7-figure business. I am not a millionaire. I don't have $1 million. Well, no, that's not true. That's not true. I do have $1 million in assets. Okay. I changed my statement, but I don't pay myself $1 million. How about that? I don't pay myself $1 million inside of my business. Right. So, but I started to ask myself, what does it look like to be a millionaire from my vantage point? Right. Millionaires have resources so that they can give to the causes and the people that they want to impact, right? Millionaires think differently. They play differently. They show up differently. And so I started to inhabit or embody being a millionaire, what that means in every way, in an effort to prepare my fields for rain, because God will send the rain when he's ready, but he's not going to send the rain until you're prepared, right? He won't put more on you than you can bear. And I can't tell you the exact scripture that alludes to that, right? But I do know that he won't put more on me than I can bear. And because he won't put more on me than I can bear, he's not going to send the rain until I'm ready for it. So how many of you are preparing your fields for rain? And so what does that look like, Darnyelle? What does it look like to prepare your fields for rain? Well, it's going to depend on which fields we're talking about, but I'm going to tell you what it looks like for me, and then you adapt it to what it needs to look like for you. Is that fair? So for me, and I'm going to cover every area of my life. In my life, it's about making sure that I'm making healthy decisions and I'm being a good steward over the vessel that I have. It means that I'm putting good in and not just bad, right? Yeah, sure. We all have that occasional weakness of chocolate or whatever the case might be, right? But that's the exception, not the rule. It means that I'm actually getting up and moving my body on a consistent basis, right? I'm preparing for rain. You guys know, you've heard me share it on this podcast. You've heard me, if you've watched my Next Level Everything docuseries, you've heard me talk about my desire to be a mom at my age. I know age is only a number, but still at the end of the day, I'm 45, right? And so I have to be a good steward over this vessel. I've got to prepare my body for rain, because God will send the rain when he's ready, but he won't send it if I'm not prepared. So that means I have to eat better. I have to move. I have to think about being able to carry a life inside of me for the duration of the experience, right? That's preparing for rain. In my marriage, that means that I have to show up fully and be fully present for my husband. I have to understand what his needs are and be attentive to those needs, right? I can't just be like, oh, I want to have a more romantic union and I'm not contributing to the romance factor. I've got to prepare for rain in my business, right? I can't say I want to make $1 gazillion and don't tighten my processes and my procedures. I can't say these things and not create the systems or hire the team, right? You know, in my private training, Move to Millions, we talk about the 4 things that we change that help us to make the move to millions: strategy, sales, systems, and support. I've got to make sure all of those things are ready. I have dreams and visions of having a $10 million company, an 8-figure company. That means that I have got to show up at the $10 million level. Actually, I probably need to show up at the $20 million level. So one of the things we're doing to prepare for rain is we are hiring right now. We've got 3 open positions. We are acting as if the rain is here. We are putting ourselves in position so that as the rain shows up, we won't enter into a flood. right? And get drowned in the flood. But instead, in the flood, we will be able to soak up all of that water and it'll have a place because we've done the preparation for it. And so what does that need to look like for you, right? In your business, have you prepared for rain? Have you tightened your message? Have you up-leveled your mindset? Have you figured out the right marketing strategies? Are you able to close a sale every which way? Right? Whether you're talking to them directly, they're reading your website copy, they're watching a webinar. Have you done all of the things to be able to close sales? Do you have systems and infrastructure in place so that you don't have to start from scratch every single time you go to do something? Do you have anybody supporting your efforts? Do you have a org chart of what your business looks like in the future, right? I talk a lot about doing everything from your vision point and not your vantage point. Are you thinking about your company? This is a business podcast, kind of. Are you thinking about your company from your vision point and not your vantage point? Are you preparing for rain? Because that's a vision point talk when you operate at that level. There's something magical that happens when you start preparing for rain, where every single day you get up as if the rain could come in any minute. And you're doing the things, tightening the processes that are going to be required to ensure that when the rain comes, you don't succumb, like you don't get lost in the rain. Instead, you get to dance in it. How awesome would that be if you were setting your business up that way? So this is one of the reasons why I love watching Facing the Giants. And there are tons of messages that come out of it. I'm going to share them with you just in case you haven't seen the movie. I want you to get a copy, go to Amazon. It's probably like 10 or 15 bucks. Watch it with your whole family. Every single time I watch it, it reminds me of just how amazing God is, which is why I watch it once a month. It's like The Secret for me. And I've watched The Secret, but it's like The Secret. It literally is being reminded of these lessons that I'm going to share with you in no particular order. Actually, they might be in the order that I remember them as I was watching the movie. And I added a few last night. Bloom where you're planted. That's the first lesson. Bloom where you're planted. If you are in a place, you are likely in that place because that is where God has you right now. So bloom where you are planted. Prepare for rain. That's the whole point of this episode, is preparing for rain, right? Because he will not send the rain until your fields are prepared. He just won't. God's a gentleman. He's not going to put you in a position to not be able to experience the manifestation of his glory. He's not going to put himself in a position to not get the glory. He's not a man that he should lie, right? So he's not going to do that. You want to give God everything that you've got and leave the results up to him. That's where I am in my business. Like, God is truly the CEO of Incredible One Enterprises. I may have started as the CEO, but I have turned over control. I yield to him in prayer each day. I talk to God and I ask him, what do you want me to do about this? We're seeing this happen. What do you want me to do? And I'm sitting and waiting for him to share with me what I should be doing, because this is his company. I have resolved to give him everything that I've got and leave the results up to him. Here's another one. You got to praise him if you get new clients, and you've got to praise him if you don't. You have to honor him with your actions and attitudes. These are my lessons from Facing the Giants. Oh, I love this. Only a real risk tests the quality of a belief. It's easy to go with the flow and to do what's easy, but that's not where the magic is. Think about a tree. The fruit on the tree is not inside on the stalk. That might not be what it's called. The inside of the tree, the trunk of the tree, right? The fruit is out on the branches, on the edges. The only way to get the fruit is to branch out. Your actions will always follow your belief. Your haters are par for the course. I think about Coach Taylor and all of the parents who were hating on him, the same parents who turned around and ended up buying him a car. When you face the giants, your fear will collide with your faith. Just to remember to love God no matter what. Don't ever stop believing in God and his promises. That's another lesson. That came to me last night. More than 365 times in the Bible, God said to fear not. So why do we let fear stop us from preparing for rain? You have to remember where God brought you from. You have to be able to take that quick glance over your shoulder. That's what makes preparing for rain like all the better when you do that. As long as you honor God, nothing is impossible. And give your best to God always. You may, be lazy or give the scraps to other people in your life, but give God your best. Give God something to bless. That's so important. And I don't know about you, but I just know that when I made the decision to prepare for rain in every area of my life, it meant, as I talked to you about last week, being steeped in surrender, getting my life in order, getting my house in order, as we talked about last week, and being obedient. That's it for me. Just preparing my fields for rain, doing what I next know to do as I think about the vision and where I want to be, as I think from my vision point and not my vantage point. I'll probably have to do a separate episode about that. That always is a town favorite whenever I talk about it. But I want you to prepare for rain. I want you to prepare for what is coming, what is on the way for you. Because as you prepare, that's your way of giving God something to bless, right? And when you give God something to bless, you really do open up something magical. I made an acronym for RAIN. Release, abundance, indefinitely now. The release is about surrender, right? Knowing that the rain is coming is being willing to surrender in the face of the rain. Abundance is what rain produces, right? Indefinitely means that it's until God decides to take his light off of you. And now, like in this moment, prepare yourself for rain. So what does it look like for you to prepare for rain? That's my assignment for you. And I don't usually give assignments in podcast episodes, but I literally want you to find some time today or as you take in this episode, and I want you to grab your journal. I want you to play some soft music to just set the atmosphere. And I want you to ask yourself, what does the rain look like? These are the 3 questions. Number 1, what does the rain look like? And the reason I want you to ask that is because I want your vision to kick in, right? So what will it look like when it's raining in your life? That might be a better question. What will it look like when it's raining in your life? That's number 1. Number 2, who do you need to be to prepare for rain? And number 3, what does your preparation process look like? What will it look like when it's raining in your life, in your career, in your business, right? Who must you be to prepare for rain? And what will your preparation look like? Those are the 3 questions I want you to answer for me. And when you answer those questions, I believe that your process of preparing for rain will begin. And then you'll know exactly what steps to take in order to get your fields ready to receive all of the rain that God cannot wait to send to you. I love Psalms. I think it's Psalms 81. No good thing will he withhold from them that walk uprightly. God is not in it for the struggle. He's in it for the significance. And as you prepare for rain, it gives him the opportunity to show up really powerfully in your life and in your business. And that incredible one is what I most want for you. Prepare for rain, and the rain will surely come. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Thank you for joining me for the Leverage Your Incredible Factor Business Podcast. If after listening to this episode, you know that it's time that you stop playing and praying small, you should go grab my Grow Your Business Toolkit. Based on the pillars of business optimization, this toolkit is the only resource you need to get crystal clear about what it will take to take your business to the 7-figure mark. Go grab yours today at growyourbiztoolkit.com. And if you enjoyed our time together, do yourself a favor. Head on over to iTunes, subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. Until next time, remember, you deserve to scale your business, shake the planet, and fund the life you crave. Take care.